It says we're live. I don't see it yet on subs. Oh, there we go. Okay, hi Melissa. How are you?
Colin, I'm doing good. We were just chatting about being outside, and you were telling me about your new running shoes. I got out for a walk today. I didn't tell you. I walked 2.5 miles. It felt really good. I always love when the warm weather. I think you posted the other day. You had like a little snippet about hippie and like animals and stuff being out, and I don't know. There's just like something that I think feels like creativity more when the weather starts warming up.
Well, I don't know if I'm more creative, but it is interesting to watch the changing of the seasons because I started running in early February, and in Minnesota, I mean, it could be 0 degrees.
Right.
The lake is iced over, but yeah, now we're starting to get some green here, and the sunrises are different. They're more colorful, and the ducks, they just love spring. So yeah, lots of animals out, and just a whole different vibe. Plus the short shorts. A lot of runners now are running in really short shorts.
Short season. I feel like that would be an SNL skit.
Well, um, yeah. Anyways, let's dive into our questions this week. We
Absolutely.
we did have one in the chat. Uh,
Yes. Which I'm going to learn something from you about this one. So it's a writer question that came in for you, and they want you to explain about interiority and foreshadowing and give us some like reader or writer insight into differentiating between the two, how to use it in writing style. And can you explain it for those of us like myself that maybe haven't explored the concept before of interiority?
yeah, I'll try my best. It is kind of complicated. In fact, I made a bunch of notes just in case.
Okay. We're gonna school us all right here.
Um, so this came up because I published a post last Wednesday arguing against using interiority. So we all have interior thoughts, but it's hard to like are actually articulate them. How often when you go throughout your day are your thoughts articulated in well-structured sentences? Very rarely. They just kind of happen naturally. And in writing, when you're expressing your character's thoughts on the page, it's often a form of telling. And you know the difference between telling and showing. You want to
Right.
avoid just giving the reader direct information. What's more valuable, what's more engaging is when you can develop the character so well that the reader can relate to them and understand their circumstances so that the reader draws the same conclusion as the character. So when they're standing in line at Jimmy John's and there's a line out the door and they're really frustrated, you don't have to uh, express in their from their mind, oh shoot, the line is too long. I'm not going to get back to work in time. I only have 30 minutes for lunch. The reader will come to that same conclusion just by you having developed that character over time, not just in that scene, but in every scene. How would this person respond to this situation? Do they have anger issues? Are they are things not going well at work where they might think they'll lose their job? So you just have to show us the line that they pull up to Jimmy John's and they get out of their car quick and they see the line out the door, and right away the reader knows, oh shoot, she's not going to get back to work in time, rather than having the character say, oh darn it, I'm not going to get back to work in time. So that's the interiority, and it's writers will use it because it's a shortcut to making sure the reader understands what's going on, and it's just a very delicate, kind of subtle change between articulating those thoughts on the page versus helping the reader to draw that same conclusion. Now, as far as short foreshadowing is concerned, uh, that's a little bit different, and that is more about indicating to the reader, but not necessarily the character, what might happen next. And there's the same level of subtlety there. So, for whatever reason, when this question was asked, I thought of what if you're a rock climber and your rope snaps and you're clinging to the side of the cliff, and your character might look down and say, "Oh no, I'm going to die." Like that would be the interiority. But in order to foreshadow this, that would be something different. Like as they're climbing and the rope makes some noises that it doesn't usually make,
Right.
or there's big wind gusts, or let's say after the rope does snap, they look at their knuckles and their knuckles are white, or their hands shaking. They're having a hard time holding onto the rock, or the rock is particularly smooth. Anything that might tip off to the reader that,
Yeah.
oh, this person is going to die, or they're right in there with them and they feel like, oh no, I'm going to die if I fall from this rock face. Um, so it's just a matter of kind of combining the two, the interiority, which is more about um, it's what the character believes is going to happen, and it's more interior, and then the foreshadowing is more exterior. It's imaging, and it's more about indicating to the reader what might happen. And I
You
had one
explained that really well.
yeah, I had one phrase I wanted to say. Interiority tells us what the character believes is happening. Foreshadowing hints at what the story knows is coming.
That makes so much sense because there's something that happens as a reader that I didn't realize was happening when you read these like internal thoughts from a character that go on for 2 paragraphs. And I always knew that annoyed me when I come across in a book, but I never made the connection to like our own thoughts are not complete sentences. So, when somebody walks past, from that cut in line or whatever, and the character thinks in their head, like, jerk. Like, yes, that we can all identify with that because our internal thoughts are so like snappy and quick, unless
Hmm.
our thoughts are racing chaotically. But that makes more sense and makes me feel like I'm in the character's thoughts than them. It feels a bit disturbing when your thoughts in their head are going on and on and on and on, and nothing is happening to, on page to move the story forward. So I think I understand that a bit now. Thank you for explaining all of that. And foreshadowing, yeah, I love it because I feel like foreshadowing is like little clues and it happens in our own lives. So often like something happens and then we look back at our own life and we're like, oh, like I should have seen that coming because da
Hmm.
da 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 da. And it makes you like feel like you're along with the character for the ride, but also it makes you feel a little bit superior, I think, sometimes as the reader when you see where this is leading to before the character does, and you're like ahead of the story in that sense. So you feel along for the ride and you're guessing. Like I love that moment when I'm guessing as a reader as to where it's going. And then I really love a book where it zigs when I thought it was gonna zag,
Yeah.
and then it surprises me in like a whole new way.
Yeah, the satisfaction of, oh, how did I miss that? And you go back
Right.
and find like the clues were there. Yeah, the foreshadowing was
Yes.
there.
Uh, I think Agatha Christie, that's one of the reasons why she's so good at what she does is it's so subtle in a lot of the clues that she has. I mean, obviously, it's like the easiest thing for it to be done with a little foreshadowing, but you have to go back and kind of look at like where was that at? Oh, I missed it the first go around.
Well, let's shift gears here. First, I want to say hello to Georgina. She said hello from London, so that's great. We have
Hello,
from
Georgina.
across the pond.
Yes.
Um, let's talk about building a support system. So every author does, sits by themselves and does their research and their writing for a long time. But we all need a team to get us through the challenges, the just the overall huge scope of these projects. So can you talk about the importance of building a support team in order to write and publish a novel?
Absolutely. And I have to give props to you because that's one of the things I love about being a part of the History Through Fiction team is like we have this built-in support system of people that you can connect with. And as History Through Fiction is growing, there's new authors coming in. We have editors, interns, social media side of things, like all these people that we can connect in different ways, different like experiences, call on each other for different things. We just had a team time call this week, which is so much fun because it's like a casual environment to get to connect, but still like the people that get you. Like we can talk shop and other people are like, oh yeah, like, or somebody says, I've been struggling with this. Does anybody have any ideas on how to help? and somebody jumps in with something that's happened to them or recommendations of people to check out on social media. We had fun this week talking about working out. We kind of went off on a tangent on that as well. And it was so much fun because I feel like I know everyone a little bit better now, knowing like who's a runner, who likes
Mhm.
to bike, who goes to yoga, like just these little bits like bring us together as a team so much more because of it. And I think that's one of the things that we kind of, I don't know, maybe a lot of us that work in the book world are like kind of tend to be happy in our little safe space at home, working on our own in isolation. But out and I work with other people, my creativity thrives because of that. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit about my clients that I've worked with lately and how whether it's, working with somebody that's coaching you through something or teaming up with other writers or creatives, I do think it's an important piece of growing yourself creatively to work with other people. That can be just putting together a little group of your own that maybe meets at the coffee shop or meets on Zoom and you work through your writing, talk through your social media, your Substack, things like that. If you're looking to grow with intention, it might be book coaching, having somebody walk you through the process of how to actually grow your Substack, what to write about, these sort of like person that takes you on that journey. But I find for myself, like when I enter a new creative phase, when I reach out to other people and I collaborate and I work with them, I thrive so much more because of the connection. Um, I don't know if it's kind of a still coming out of COVID sort of thing where we're all kind of remembering how to talk to other people and how to put ourselves out there afterwards. Or we just tend to be isolationists a bit while we're working on writing projects. But um, I just wanted to encourage anyone that's maybe been feeling like they need a little something new or they need to step outside their comfort zone. Like, there's so many amazing groups and resources, or maybe somebody that you've been chatting with a lot on Substack, to reach out to and just connect with and say, hey, like, let's have a chat and see what are some ideas we can bounce off of each other to push yourself, and creatively in a new direction, expand what you're doing, think outside the box.
Mhm. Well, let me start by saying we do team HTF team time once a month, and they're optional. And I guess I want to say that that's kind of an important element because I don't know about you, but I have so many different places to show up. Sometimes you don't, you just
Yes,
want to sit and watch a TV show or something like that. Um,
absolutely. I haven't shown up to a few, and this was my first one back in a while. And then I was like, oh, I miss them so much. Like I need to try to make every effort to get there because I do enjoy them when I can show up.
Yeah. Well, it is nice for us as a group, for all the reasons you pointed out, but also just because we don't have a physical space to meet and we have people across the world. I mean, Ian joined from Malaysia
Yeah.
and, all over the place. So it's nice to have a place to gather and to collaborate on things and yeah, get to know each other personally a little bit and get to see your cats. You had your cats and
Lily just broke her way in here. So
okay.
Lily says hello.
And Carla had her cat Arya. And
Yes.
then I actually took part in a group meeting called the Publishing TEA.
Hmm.
And it's a group of publishing professionals and editors that, for the exact same reason, like what are your challenges? What are your solutions? How can we help each other? And that was really, really cool. And just people that, I might gather with you and our authors, and we have some things that overlap, but not everything overlaps. They don't
Great.
understand the administrative side of the publishing. So that was really nice, and I might be joining that group. Um, but you were, promoting, hey, join a group because of the benefits of it. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you offer over on your Substack to find a group connection?
Yeah, so I would say groups in general are a great space if you are feeling like you're just looking for connection, to kind of explore different ideas with people. But then, like, the deeper part of that is the connection of coaching, right? So when I work with people one-on-one, it is a connection and I'm getting to know the person and we're kind of challenging each other. But I have two ways that I work with people through my Substack. So I do a monthly challenge on there for my paid subscribers, and it's very low touch. It's emails that go out and just kind of challenge you creatively. This month we're doing more like a low tech kind of get off of our phones kind of challenge that's actually starting next. It'll be running next week, and that's just kind of a way to feel like you're in the same space as people, kind of that way. And then I do my one-on-one coaching. So this is for authors and creatives that are looking for not just connection, but someone that can help them put together the pieces of what do I need to be doing to get me to the next step, and then the next step, and how to actually see growth from what I'm doing. But it's funny because I always have people, we get off our calls and they're like, this felt like therapy. And I hope this in a good way. But it is, I really try to get to know the people that I work with, because I think that's a very important piece of putting yourself out in a great way on Substack or on social media. We've talked about this numerous times. Like, you put yourself out there in a way that people connect and feel like they know you and they've been a part of your journey of running history through fiction now for years. I try to build my Substack coming from a perspectives that I have in my life. I just put out a post this morning that I wrote about my son hating Pride and Prejudice and our car conversations because of that. And that comes from, you know, a deeply personal perspective that I put into my Substack. So I value connection with my coaching, on top of the layer of helping people with the content that they're creating.
And that's so important, just to have a guide so you know you're headed in the right direction and not just kind of spinning your wheels. I have to admit, I haven't read the post yet. You did talk about this on Tuesday. What does he hate about it?
He says it is top 10 worst books of all time, along with all the other classics that he's read. But we had the post was a conversation about he told me that a friend parents told him not to read Jane Austen because she's essentially like horribly boring and that he wouldn't like it. And so we talked about telling people you shouldn't read this book because it's boring, and putting our own opinions on other people when it comes to books, movies, whatever it is in life, and just being willing to explore things that push us outside of our comfort zone. And you know, maybe Jane Austen isn't the most exciting thing that he's ever read, but it now he can add it to his collective of things that he's done in his life and knowledge that he has. He can make a personal decision of if he liked it or not someone else putting upon him what
Hmm.
he liked and he didn't like. And we talked about he loves horror stuff, and I am not a horror person. I want nothing to do with it. But if since he was little, I would have always told him like, oh, horror is horrible, it's stupid. Like, he loves comics. If I said comics aren't real literature, he wouldn't be the person that he is today, because I would have taken away. So I think as readers and just as humans, we need to, like, we can share our reasons of why something wasn't for us, but we need to be open to letting everyone explore what they like and don't like. And so I'm totally cool with him not liking Jane Austen, but he explored it and gave it a chance.
Hmm. Well, it sounds like you're a very good mom that's helping him to broaden his horizons and yeah, make his own choices on how he feels about things. So I think that's really important. I will not be reading Pride and Prejudice anytime soon.
So okay, I think you read enough other things, I'll let it pass. But I think it is important for us to be exploring as readers. I mean, I totally own up to that in the post. Like, I myself am guilty of, you know, a star review and I don't explain why the book wasn't for me. And like, we could get into a whole nother lengthy discussion about that, and just sharing our opinions with others, I think does make us better readers, to
Hmm.
give the full reviews and not just oh, don't read
Yeah,
that, I didn't like it.
yeah.
Anyways, so much going on this week with my son reading Pride and Prejudice, team time, and also events. You were up to a lot of stuff this week, with different events that you had going on. I think last time we met was post conference, or right? We've met once for office hours after the conference, right? I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
Now this week you had other events going on. So you had diversity was a big topic of the week. You had in-person events. Catch us up on all that's been happening on your side.
Sure. Well, yesterday, two events, one on Zoom, one in person. The one in person was nice to actually go somewhere and see people. And man, the ability, like, I can't, the people that are watching us now, I can't read their reactions. Georgina's nice and she's been posting some things in the chat, but it's so nice when you have an audience in front of you and it's such a small space that like you can actually gauge their reactions to things. So this was at Content Bookstore in Northfield, Minnesota, where Rob Hardy is from. Rob is the author of The Presbyterian SETI, which was a short story published in our anthology, The Blood of Englishmen. And we had a really great chat. It was kind of interesting just to hear everything that he's been through. He's a poet, former poet laureate of Northfield, Minnesota. He's got a lot of poetry collections, but he said for 20 years he couldn't get a short story published. And so that was just kind of fascinating for me, being the person who made up this thing called History Through Fiction and started accepting submissions to provide that kind of validation. I don't know where writers are coming from, when they submit their
Right.
work, and I tried to treat it all of them with care, but um, I think that was really gratifying for him to finally land a story in a published anthology. And on my end, it's just so much work to put that all together, but it's so nice to meet someone who gets to benefit from that and gets to share their creative work. And then we had a lot of questions from the audience. They had a lot of questions about historical fiction, what's okay, what's not okay, what's nonfiction versus creative nonfiction versus historical
Wow.
fiction, and then like, is it historical fiction if it includes elements of fantasy and speculative elements and all kinds of stuff. So we had a really good talk, and yeah, that was a really nice event.
I love that people are broadening their opinion of what historical fiction is as well. I mean, there's so many subgenres we're seeing lately of different things. So it's fun to see historical fiction kind of having a moment of people exploring what kind of entail and where can we take the
Mhm.
genre in the future.
Yeah, well, and I talked about, I mean, well, uh, Rob, he brought up a novel about Anne Boleyn getting her after she got beheaded in this story that he read. I'm sorry, I don't remember the title. Her head gets sewn back on, and then she goes on and continues her life, and that brought Rob into this history of, I think it was Henry VIII, and he learned so much about history. So it's like it doesn't really matter what the device is, what the creative device is, but as long as it engages readers in a way that they are kind of secretly learning history, that's kind of what historical fiction is trying to do.
I
The
love
other
that.
event we had was earlier in the day. It was a BIPOC historical fiction panel, and this is interesting topic for us because it's incredibly important in our industry to diversify the stories, diversify our authors, diversify the regions and the time periods that were. It's not all just World War II historical fiction, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. But there's so many challenges to it because it is still a business and we need to make money. And oftentimes those niche stories, or what could be called niche, aren't as marketable or commercial or profitable, and all those sorts of things. And then there's the challenges of just the historical traumas, the structures that are in place that are slanted one way or another, and it's hard to break through those structures or even to recognize them at times. And I've met with some of those challenges as a white author writing a largely, a history that largely Native American history and culture, and gotten some pushback for my own novel and in my interpretation and things like that I've been learning along the way. And so then I'm a little reticent to reach out to try and promote and support Black, Indigenous, people of color, and then you just have to be very careful in how you show up. So this panel, for instance, it was led by Ian Tan, our intern. He lives in Malaysia, and he invited a bunch of authors, but he had a hard time himself. Like he was really eager to start some kind of an initiative to support authors of color and to help get their work out there. And he wants us to get more of that work out there. But he was met with silence, or it was hard to find collaborators. And then once he did, he was able to put together this panel. But again, you have to be kind of careful in how you portray it and who's leading it, and how the conversation can build trust and not fear, or things like that. So it ended up being a good panel. Ian did a great job, and they talked about some very important issues, not just for writers of color, but just writers in general. They're of course facing the same challenges of, well, if I write a story set in China at this time, will it get commercial appeal? Will an agent or a publisher be interested in that? And one thing that Obe Ray Lascura brought up was she's an Asian woman, a Chinese woman, and she's expected her covers has to have the same kind of imagery to it, that people, essentially white Western Americans, will associate with that. And so she's kind of, on the one hand, she wants her books to sell, she wants it to get people's attention, but on the other hand, she doesn't want to have those stereotypes on her book cover.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm sorry, I went on a kind of a long
No, it's fascinating for those of
explanation.
us. Yeah. Is there a place that we can watch that afterwards?
Yeah, it's on our YouTube channel, History Through
Okay.
Fiction, at History Through Fiction on YouTube, and um, it's under the live tab.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely have to circle back and watch that, because I do think there's so many conversations to listen to, and understand what authors are going through with decisions in their creative process, with choices that they're making of balancing commercialism versus creativity, telling your story, getting it out there.
Yeah, and then on my end, I have limited resources. How much can I actually contribute to expanding the access for um, writers of color? And when I did try to do that a couple of years ago with the Indigenous Writers Grant, I got some support, but then I got a lot of people that were not happy about it at all,
Right.
which for me was like baffling. But looking in hindsight, I understand more of the complexity behind all that, and so I have to be a little bit more careful moving forward. Um, so with those limited resources, I can't just throw a bunch of money at it and make it better. Plus, there's these structures in place, institutionalized, that are will take decades to fix, to change. So it's something that I want to acknowledge, and it's part of the reason why we did this panel. And I've had interns in the past too that have also been interested in trying to promote more diversity in our stories and in the authors that we represent. So there's a balance there of continuing to be open to that, but maintaining our own sustainability as a press, and not causing any more trouble than I already have caused.
I think people might be surprised as to how often, I'm sure you have conversations. I talk with clients as to, like, well, I have this amazing story that I would love to write, but I know it's not going to sell. So do you spend the time writing the story, or do you write what's commercial? Um, is an interesting conversation to have for creatives.
Yeah, yeah, everyone has to make their own decision on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it was a busy week for everyone around and so much good stuff. And is there any books, I wanted to ask you, any sales going on or anything that you want to highlight through history, through fiction that's new lately that you want people to check out? I know Brent's book has been getting great reviews, so that's one to highlight. The choir is out there as well. Anything that we need to check out.
Just a lot, we have a lot more events coming in May over on Eventbrite. If you check us out, subscribe to us on Eventbrite. On May 7th, I'm doing a panel of editors with Robin Henry, Amanda Symes, Alita Winternheimer. We're part of the Narrative Guild. It's kind of our coming out party. We're saying, hey, we're here to help you as professional editors. What questions do you have about working with editors? If there aren't any questions, we'll just kind of discuss the main topics of what are the different kinds of editing? When do you need an editor? Why does it cost so much to hire an editor? What's the relationship, writer-editor relationship like? But we're also very much open. It's a Q&A, so anybody that wants to pick our brain or challenge us on anything about the editing process, that's what we'll be doing there. We have What's New in Historical Fiction on May 12th, and then again on May 31st. And then I'm actually doing a pre-order event, which we'll be publishing on May 8th. We have two books coming out in September, Exalted Objects and by Jane D. Carnes and Circus of the Vanishing Elephant by Tim Schooley. And on May 8th, I'm publishing a blog with those covers and encouraging pre-orders, but also announcing that we're doing this pre-order event with those authors. That'll be on May 28th. So yeah, whatever you might be interested in, come check us out. Oh, and we have I'm doing my workshop. You and I we alternate doing workshops. This month it'll be May 17th. May 14th. It's on a Thursday, and it's point of view. We're going to be really dissecting the different kinds of point of view, the distance of the narrator. I'm going to talk about free indirect discourse, and that is when you get inside your character's head and put that on the page. There's a very specific technique to do that so it doesn't disrupt the reader's fictional dream. So yeah, check out any of those things.
Just so people know, they can always, if they for some reason don't make it live, you can still get the recording. So go ahead and sign up or subscribe to your Substack, and they can get access on there for the workshops as well. It's a great way to be able to see it all. Do that. One other thing I wanted to shout out for my readers on here is also which I think we still have up on the website, is the gift card for ebooks, the Pick 3 gift card. You still have access to that. I know we talk about it at Christmas time. The gift card on there.
I haven't changed anything.
Yeah. So I think it's a fantastic way. So if you have someone that you want to get a gift for that you know is a reader and you want to let them kind of like pick their own books, on the History Through Fiction shop, we have a gift card on there that you can purchase for someone and let them pick the books that they want, the ebooks that they want, from the History Through Fiction library. And I feel like we don't talk about that enough, but I feel like it's would be thrilled if somebody gave me like, here, go pick out 3 books for yourself. And see what you want to read. Little shopping spree for the historical fiction readers in your life. So just a shout out for that over on the shop. Check out any other books that are on there as well.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Melissa. It's been awesome talking today. Thanks to everyone who showed up for the live and anyone who's watching on replay. I hope you're having a great day.
See you all in a couple weeks.
Okay. Bye.